Get started here.
Dude, I have sent some embarrassing texts to my mom.
Good afternoon, everybody. On call to order the regular city council meeting, or excuse me, the city council work session for 21 July 2020. We have everyone present for the record. We'll start today with the presentation and discussion under item A is the 23 July council meeting and agenda items. And of course, we'll start with the roll call to order, roll call, invocation, pledge, etc., and acceptance of the agenda. Item 1 is acceptance of the agenda. Is there anything that needs to be changed, added, amended to the agenda? Any discussion on item 1? Okay. Next item would be the city manager's report. Mr. Petuchik, is there anything specific that you would like to share with us today?
Well, Mr. Mayor, I'll be sharing with you today, and I'll also announce Thursday at the meeting. We did get our May sales tax figures, and pleased to report that our gross sales tax figures were up over $200,000 for May, or 12%. So that is excellent news. Of course, we still have sectors of our local economy that are hurting, particularly the hotels and motels. That revenue was down 57%, and bar restaurant was down 8%. So our overall retail, though, was up $265,000, 25%, and that includes the internet sales, which have been very helpful also through this time. So our overall report was 4.4% over 2019's figures, and we are currently sitting 6.6% net over budget for last fiscal year. So very good news in terms of how the local economy is responding to the pandemic. That's all I have right now, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Petuchik. Any questions for Mr. Petuchik?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Just to clarify, May is up 12% from May 2019 or last month?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. We have a couple of public hearing items. Item number 2 is a liquor license. Ms. Adams, would you brief us, please?
Mayor Mueller, I apologize. The item number 2 is an application for a Series 7 transfer of ownership and a new agent for a liquor license located at 900 East Fry, which is the Pizza Hut Bistro. The applicant, Kevin Cramber, is a professional. He has a liquor license business that he operates. This is what he does as far as being the agent for these items, but there was an ownership change, so this requires all of the proper paperwork and the posting. The public hearing was posted on the facility the required amount of time, and we have received no comments, pro or con. A background check was performed by the police department, and they have no issue with this application going forward. And if approved Thursday night, it will be forwarded to the state for final action.
Thank you, Mrs. Adams. Questions for this item? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is it typical for a person to be?
She needs some.
You gotta talk into the mic.
Oh, yeah. Getting so used to the mask, I forget to take it off. Is that a typical process for a person to be on behalf of a company or a business?
Mayor Mueller, Councilmember Calhoun, absolutely. Whether it's for corporate purposes or liquor licenses, there are companies and people that make a very good living representing and being the agent of process or filing for different entities in this country.
Does that, well, I'm not sure the correct word to use, but absolve the actual owner of responsibility for?
Absolutely not. No, they're the contact person, and it's just easier for businesses and for agencies to have a person who is listed, who is basically the statutory agent that if they need to get a hold of people or anything like that. But that is their function, and they, I am sure, have a contract with the owners of the liquor license that says this is what I will do for you, and these are my responsibilities, and these are not my responsibilities.
Not to belabor the issue, but so when everything is checked, the owners are checked, not Kevin Arnold Cramber,
They actually do a background check of the applicant,
which
Yeah,
is Kevin.
which is Mr. Cramber, yes.
This is the first time I ever noticed that. And
But all the owners do submit questionnaires to the state. The state does some checking of the people who are actually obtaining the license, but our check reflects the background of the applicant, who is Mr. Cramber.
thank you for that information.
Any other questions for item 2? Okay, we'll go on to item number 3, which is another liquor application of Series 6. And this time, Ms. Adams, would you give us a briefing, please?
Mayor Mueller, members of council. Same guy, Mr. Cramber. He's been busy down here,
Yes, he
but
has.
he's representing a group who has purchased the liquor license for Rookies over on Fry Boulevard. As with the other license, the notice of the public hearing was posted on the facility and no comments have been received. A background check has been done and the police department has no issue, and if approved on Thursday, it will be sent to the state for final action.
Thank you, Mrs. Adams. Any comments or questions for Mrs. Adams? All right, then we'll move on to item number 4, which is a proposed development code text amendment. Mr. Pregler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and members of council. There has been a recent trend with installing larger sized manufactured homes within existing manufactured home parks. Some of these manufactured homes have exceeded building setbacks on the park spaces. Now, case in point, the City Council approved a development agreement on January 23rd to reduce the setbacks for the Mountain View Mobile Home Park because the homes exceeded the current setbacks. So rather than continue with development agreements for future development of the mobile home parks, staff is recommending an amendment to reduce the setbacks for manufactured home parks. So the specific amendment is to reduce the front and rear yard setbacks from 10 feet to 5 feet. And the side setbacks are already 5 feet. So there'll be 5-foot setbacks all around for these particular lots or these spaces. These reduced setbacks will allow siting or installation flexibility for the park owner. The development code requires that each space provide enough room for 2 vehicle parking spaces. Again, to ensure that there is ample flexibility, the language would not dictate the location of the parking, but only ensure that there was ample space available for the parking. Also, the building code does require a minimum 10-foot separation between buildings, and therefore this amendment will be meeting that requirement. The fire marshal indicated approval of the amendments, provided additional site mitigation is included with the issuance of a building permit. For example, cutting of overhead trees, for example, so fires wouldn't spread from unit to unit. And those would be requirements of a building permit when issued. So the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended unanimous approval at their July 7th meeting. The code amendments have been posted online since June. A link to the amendments was printed in the public notice that was published on June 21st. The city has not received any comments regarding the amendments. Now, this is a request for final adoption of the amendments. Since the text change is rather minimal in terms of the language that's changing, the amendments can be published in the newspaper rather than approved by reference, which would not require an additional 30-day public comment period. However, the ordinance will not take effect until 30 days after approval, which still allows time for the ordinance to be referred by the public. So this does conclude staff's report.
Thank you, Mr. Pregler. Questions for Mr. Pregler? Yes, ma'am.
Jeff, is that 5-foot setback, that's from the streets in the mobile home park?
That would be from the space lines. The spaces are a certain width and length, and so they're designated on the site plans of these mobile home parks, manufactured home parks. And so it would be from the space lines themselves.
Okay.
So basically what he's saying is from the space line all the way around, they would have to come in 5 feet.
5 feet.
And that's a footprint that they could put the mobile home in.
Okay.
And that's very, we do have a 5-foot separation, if I remember correctly, on the stick-built homes as well, between eave to eave, essentially, on buildings. Yeah, We changed it, well, 5 feet, 5 and 5 is 10.
Mr. Mayor is correct. For the higher density homes, there is a side setback of 5 foot separation to a property line. So this is in line with that. Although this particular amendment is for the front and the rear setbacks, the side setbacks are already placed at 5 feet.
Okay. And that just makes me want to ask too, what about where mobile homes are and it's not a park, it's just a city, it's just a neighborhood lot? Is there any change in the way those are set up?
Mayor Mueller, Councilmember Calhoun, to answer your question, no, this is specific to manufactured home parks. Manufactured home subdivision would be like Solgar subdivision, which is a pretty standard traditional subdivision. And the rear and front setbacks would be 15 feet apiece. And we allow that. Reason why it's 15 in the traditional subdivisions is because typically people want to have outdoor activities, gardening, that type of thing. And so we allow that type of uses for the space in their backyard and front yard. In manufactured home parks, there's one owner, and typically they'll have a community pool, they'll have community activities at the park. So it's not necessarily needed for manufactured home parks.
I see. Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks very much.
Anybody else?
I would just add that this is the same concession we made for the mobile home park that got purchased. Was that earlier this year? God, this year has been weird. It's all mixed up in there. So I think it's fair that we make it all the same for everyone across the board. Yeah, I agree with the change.
Can I ask on that? Also, so to clarify, when we did this earlier, and that was kind of along the same lines, was we were only making the concession for that one park, and now we're making it for everybody.
Mayor Mueller, Councilmember Pacheco, that is correct. This
Okay.
would apply to any manufactured park currently or proposed.
Okay, I just want to clarify. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Mr. Pregler. We'll next go on to, under new business. We have the approval of regular city council meeting minutes for 9 July 2020. Any additions, corrections, errors for the minutes? Okay, seeing none, then we'll move on to,
Sorry.
ma'am.
It's customary, appropriate to abstain when you were absent. I was absent. Correct?
Yes,
Oh, yeah, okay.
if you can't attest to the fact that the minutes are accurate,
Watched it on YouTube.
you
but
should probably
I'll abstain from
abstain.
that
That's
vote,
abstain.
just so you know.
Yeah, abstain.
Yep.
Okay. We can now move to item number 6, and that's the adoption of the final budget for 2021. Ms. Osborne.
Again.
Mayor and members of council, the resolution before you today is the city's adoption of the fiscal year 2020-2021 operating budget set at $86,748,629. There are no changes from the tentative budget that was approved on June 25th, 2020, and I have not received any additional public comments. Further, council will meet on Thursday, August 13th, 2020 at 5 p.m. to set the fiscal year 2020-2021 primary property tax levy. The state budget forms have been provided with the resolution and also have been posted on the website. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jen. Questions for Jen?
Why does she look so happy?
Well, it's over with. It's just about over with. That's why she's so happy. But
Never
she's
I
gonna
know.
take a couple months rest before she starts working on the next one. That's why she's smiling.
I'll be putting together the final budget book now.
So it never stops. Any other questions for Jen?
Just a thank you to Jen and Victoria. I asked for a laundry list of updated pages from our previous meeting, and you guys got everything to me updated, so I feel comfortable voting for it on Thursday. Thank you.
Okay, doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
We now move on to item number 7, Big O Tire annexation. Mr. Fisher.
Good afternoon, Mayor Mueller, members of council. Today we have the final required council action for the Big O Tires annexation, which is the acceptance into ordinance. For brief summary on how we got to where we are now and where we have to go, On September 12, 2019, the City of Sierra Vista agreed to construct and finance a driveway access located within the Avenida Cochise right-of-way for Big O Tires. The driveway was to provide access from the subject property to Avenida Cochise. In return, the owner, Cochise Roadworks LLC, agreed to sign a pre-annexation agreement for the property. This decision was in line with ongoing annexation policy, which targets county enclaves like Big O Tires. Noting the completion of the driveway access, staff proceeded with the filing of a blank petition with the Cochise County's Recorder's Office on July 12th for annexation. The decision to proceed with the signing of the blank petition was approved by City Council on July 9th. Utilizing the signature ascertained from the pre-annexation agreement, the blank petition is now technically signed and ready for acceptance into ordinance. If the annexation is accepted and recorded with the Cochise County Recorder's Office, a 30-day challenge period will begin. Following this challenge period, the annexation will officially take effect. And at that point, the property would change from its zone designation of general business, which is the county's designation, to the city equivalent of general commercial. And to the fiscal regard, the property will add property tax, sales tax, and license fee revenues to the city. Service costs should be minimal, as this is a single parcel already surrounded by city right-of-way, and there are no more proposed infrastructure improvements. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Questions for Mr. Fisher? Yeah, long time to get this done. Good effort. We appreciate it. And thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Mueller. Thank
All
you,
right,
members of council.
we'll go on to item number 8, the court consolidation agreement. Ms. Yarborough.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this agreement extends your consolidated court agreement with Cochise County by 1 year. After extensive review by Judge Conlog, he proposed changes that would streamline it mainly by stating that the municipal court is merged into and consolidated with the Sierra Vista Justice Court Precinct 5, which then provides the service to the city of a municipal court. All the references to the Sierra Vista Magistrate Court and the City Magistrate will thereby be removed as redundant. All other terms remain the same. We do have some amendments coming to you, which we should have to you by tomorrow. Those changes will regard reporting requirements. The financial impact, which is included in this year's budget, it includes $100,000 for municipal court services and $61,000 for a part-time magistrate pro tem, same as last year. Be happy to answer any questions, Mr. Mayor.
Any further questions for Mrs. Yarborough? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't really have a question. I just want to make a statement, I guess, is that I will simply be renewing my statement from previously that based on principle, and since I asked for numbers 1 year ago and we still do not have those numbers, that I will not be voting in favor of this agreement.
Thank you. Any other comments or discussion? All right, then. That includes the meeting with call the public comments of council and adjournment. So the next item up is item B, the council executive report. Mr. Patucci.
Thank you, Mayor Mueller, members of the council. In the highlights for this particular report include first at CCOM, the emergency medical dispatch is scheduled to go live September 15th, 2020. And thanks to Brian and his crew and everybody over at CCOM for getting this enhancement in place and up and running. So we do appreciate that. As you know, the School District Governing Board approved the sale of the Rothery Center, so that sale is proceeding and is of review at the school district's attorney's office and should be consummated then pretty soon after that. Of course, there's a number of changes in community leadership going on this summer. We had the pleasure of meeting both the new garrison commander, Colonel Moreland, and Dr. Holmes, the new school district superintendent, and we look forward to working with them, and they were very cordial and I think will be very good to work with. And of course, as you know, Major General Potter is leaving to take assignment in Washington, D.C., and Brigadier General promotable Anthony Hale will be coming from Florida then to take command of the post. So those are the primary things. We're currently have meetings regarding your strategic planning item on homelessness, and have a report coming out of the Community Development Department and going over and laying out a pathway forward for how the community can better serve those in need here in Sierra Vista. So those are the highlights, and we're happy to answer questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Patucci. Questions on the report for Mr. Patucci? Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I wondered if you could explain a little bit how the emergency medical dispatch is different than what we were doing before.
Actually, I'll have Chief Jones come up. He's the subject matter expert. So.
Thank you very much, Mayor Mueller, Council Member Pacheco. The way it's different is currently when somebody calls 911, say for a sick person call, dispatch just dispatches units out. What emergency medical dispatching allows for is them to basically triage the call and get more information, which allows them to give pre-arrival instructions. So what that means is we are getting care probably about 4 to 6 minutes earlier if those people are trained on how to do things. It also, if somebody's unconscious, unresponsive, it allows for the dispatchers to actually walk them through CPR and start CPR rapidly. So what it really does is allows for early treatment and really reduce response times. Because the call gets put in and automatically it's dispatched, as opposed to right now when it takes a little while for them to input everything. So it's just really accelerates treatment and response.
So are we training our existing dispatchers? Okay, so we're providing them with this training. We're not like hiring different
No,
ones. Okay.
No, all of our current dispatchers are going through the training. They're starting it next week.
Okay.
And what the emergency medical dispatching does, it also there's a EMS component, there's a fire component, and there's also a law component. We are starting with the EMS component, and then we'll move to the fire and the police, which will allow for pre-arrival instructions for all of those different entities.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Excited about that. I was gonna say that I have like.
Keep going.
Okay, I'm
You
good.
have the floor.
Okay. So I see like a ton of tenant improvements in this, and I will hold on. I don't know if you can understand me. I see a lot of tenant improvements, which I find there's a lot of encouraging things throughout the report, and one of them was tenant improvements and 44. I don't know if they were new business licenses or if they were renewals, probably renewals, you think?
No, they're new.
They're new, 44 new business licenses in 2 months. So I think that's a good thing. And then I just had a question on when we were looking at on page 12 with community development, all of the code enforcement that has taken place. What is attractive nuisance? Just a question.
The playground.
Definition.
Like a pool. Like a pool. Kids could get into a pool.
It's Mayor Mueller, Councilmember Pacheco. It's something that could potentially attract a child and create a dangerous situation, like a washer
Or a
that's
pool.
set out outside,
Refrigerator.
that could cause
refrigerator
bodily
set
harm.
outside.
Because if the top is open, they could crawl into
Right.
the refrigerator, and if it closes, they would be trapped inside the
So you
fridge.
could be charged with attractive nuisance for putting a fridge outside.
If it stays there.
Well, it's case by case. I mean, there's judgment involved,
Yeah. Okay.
right? If it's open and accessible and potentially hazardous to small children.
Oh,
Aren't there laws about how you
that's what it
how you
is.
put things like that out? Like you have to take the door off or something if it's a fridge. Don't we have laws like that?
That's why it's a nuisance if you don't do it.
That's why it's a nuisance if you don't.
Oh.
I can read you the specific definition
that's
if
all
you're
right, Mike.
particularly interested.
I think your definition was
You put-
pretty accurate.
We thought
Had a
it was
definition in
an
there.
attractive
Okay.
nuisance might be.
Yeah,
like-
the mayor making a trouble out of himself on the street. That's
Okay.
that's not an attractive nuisance.
Just curious on the wording there.
Exactly what we thought.
We're not nitpicking. It really has to
I
pose.
know.
Yeah.
I'm just curious on
Okay.
it. And is this normal? Like most of our calls for code enforcement are initiated by people complaining. Is the number of complaints, is that a pretty normal number for us?
It fluctuates throughout the year. We get busier during the summer months, obviously because of monsoons, but typically 80% are citizen complaints, 20% are proactive. And when, we'd like to be more proactive, but right now we're kind of in a complaint-based posture just because of COVID.
Yeah. Okay. That was all. And then I did just want to make 2 comments for Parks and Rec, was that Timothy Lane Park is looking really awesome. I run through there all the time, and now that the path is complete, it's very nice to run through there and connect to Buffalo Soldier Trail. And really excited. And I know a lot of people that are excited about the pump track. That is such an awesome addition to Sierra Vista to have a pump track for recreation. And I did wonder, and I've seen comments about this online, and we've gotten calls about it, that we've canceled all of our events, but Art in the Park is still on.
Mayor Mueller, Councilmember Pacheco, right now where we stand, and this is part of the COVID report, but I'll go ahead and answer your question now. September events have all been canceled, and we're looking at probably the first week of August to make a call on Art in the Park and October events. And right now, I have to say things don't look good. So,
yeah, I just wondered about.
And that's one of the things I talked with our Parks and Leisure director and Chuck about, was how do we deal with this? And we have serious events going on throughout the year, and if it's on city property, obviously we have a say in it, and we still need to meet the requirements put out by the governor's office on the number of people that are collecting. We still need to be safe, so it seemed reasonable to do it kind of a month by month basis, a couple months out, so we're not getting too deep into the planning and the expenditures and the rental of tents and all the other stuff that can happen with an event like that. So the next big thing after Art in the Park is really going to be how do we do Christmas?
Yeah.
Do we just light the trees and not have a thing, or we don't light the trees, or we have a parade, or we don't have a parade? But again, that's something that we're going to have to look at probably the first week in November, last week of October. And again, it's all COVID dependent.
Yeah. Okay.
And nobody likes canceling these things,
I know.
believe me.
I know. I just was curious. And then on page 20, I'm really excited to see the good drop in energy use and expenditures thanks to the Schneider project.
And COVID.
And COVID. So we allowed Mike Norman to retire? Who said that? No, just kidding. Mike Norman retired? I missed that before. So I saw that in there. Anyways, congratulations and good luck to Mike. I wanted to make sure we said that.
Also, Mary Sutherland from the Parks Department retired recently as well. So we've had a few retirements through this time.
I just remember saying that. I go, how could she let that happen?
And I got to say, Mary is one of the hardest workers. She'd be out there with the crew, and she'd just be busting it like the fellas out there and making sure things look good, not just around City Hall, but around the whole city. So she's going to be missed.
Yeah. So good luck to them both. I saw that. And can we elaborate on the CARES funding application for the airport? We're putting in a CARES funding application for the airport improvement.
The grant?
The grant, the OEA grant.
Go ahead, Sharon.
Oh, it's OEA?
Is it the OEA
It's
grant?
Tony.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Tony. You're off the hook.
Yeah.
Cheryl's gonna be
One thing I do want to mention before Tony talks is I had him put a number of things in his report, and they're doing a lot of grants, and there is a lot of grant money available because of COVID and defense related activities. So Tony and Mike have been working really hard on some of these, and I thought it would be good for you guys to know, but there is some potential there. So go ahead, Tony.
Okay, so Mayor Mueller, Councilmember Pacheco, that one specifically goes to the EDA grant. They were allocated $1.5 billion in the CARES Act funding. The good news is there's not a significant timeline, so we've got some time to work on it. But really, it's driven by economic development. So and Mike's been kind of taking the lead on this one. But we're looking at the redevelopment work, aka the dirt work, infrastructure, utilities, and potentially, and that's the discussion we've had, is how far do we take it? But it would be at least a 50-50 match. And we actually would put in a request to be an 80-20. So it would be a 20% contribution versus the 80. There's a lot of things that have gone into it. We've tied in the loss of the jobs with Northrop Grumman, with the cancellation of the Hunter program. And then we're working with folks to determine how many jobs we could potentially create on the airport. And that's really the issue with the EDA grant. Our success or failure on that would be how many potential positions could we put in there. But really it's to offset the airport fund and the redevelopment, the roughly $800,000 that's slated for next year that's in the budget. We could potentially get some offset from the federal grants, or we can actually take this into the following year and bring in utilities, fiber, and those other things to make the property more attractive.
Okay. Thank you for that. I think that's all I have, other than some great coverage in Business Insider and National Geographic on Sierra Vista. Is awesome to know, and thank you to our marketing department for that. That's all I have.
Okay. We're going to go over here, Ms. Humphrey. Questions?
No, I had a lot of the same comments Sarah was going to make. I was sad about Mike. He was always really helpful when I would go to the transit committee meetings, and very knowledgeable and good listener, and had a lot of good input. And I think helped make that transition when we rerouted everything. He did that really well. So we'll miss him. And I wanted to say Adam and Judy and new guy. What's his name? New guy. I'm sorry, I forgot his name. They're doing a fantastic job. I love the podcast, the new podcast, and I'm looking forward to the Bang the Table launch next month. And I'm excited for all of our visitors when we reopen the library for the new mural. That is awesome. And I thank Matt or whoever it was that broke down code enforcement and put all that in there. That was because it's interesting, and I'm glad you asked to have it in there. So I think that's all. Yeah.
Ms. Wolf, anything?
Thank you.
Mr. Bennett?
No, sir. They covered it all.
Thank you. I have first a comment that I still haven't gone completely through this, and I want to reserve the right to bring it up at another time to ask any questions. Oh, thank you. But I also was curious about the increase in arson, and I wonder if you are free to say anything about that. You're not free to say anything.
Yes, we actually.
Arson is fire, isn't it?
It's a crime that's investigated by the police department in conjunction with the fire department. So
okay. I wonder, why wouldn't you say anything?
we did make an arrest in the case. It was mainly brush fires, and it was one person that did the majority, and we were able to charge him with several of those, a couple of arsons, couple of reckless burnings. But since that time, we haven't really had much since we made that arrest. So
that kind of tells you something, huh?
It does.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
that
ma'am.
was all I had.
Okay. So that ends the discussion on the council executive report, unless somebody thought of something last minute. Okay. Item C is the next item, is a report on recent trips, meetings, and future meetings. Under future meetings, tomorrow at 9 o'clock, Mr. Boone is going to travel with me at the request of Mayor Hewish of Douglas, the new mayor, to talk about a number of economic development issues, as well as things that we can do together, both on the national and the state level, to promote economic and health and everything else in our region. So And we'll also talk about, of course, trying to re-energize the visit with the Mexican mayors, which is going to be challenging, more challenging than ever with the COVID issues. So we'll be having some interesting discussions, I'm sure, and we will be wearing our masks down and back, I'm sure, Tony, right? And it probably there as well, since they're a little hotter spot than we are. Anybody else have any recent trips, meetings, future meetings, comments? Okay. Future discussion items for the council requests. Have we got any, Ms. Yarborough, have we got any items scheduled?
Just the property tax hearing, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Or I mean the property tax vote.
All righty. Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to add the hummingbird issue.
The hummingbird issue.
Oh, we talked about this before. I want more hummingbirds. You know about.
Okay, yeah, we can certainly talk about
Do I need to?
getting the state
Did I?
to designate us as a hummingbird,
As the hummingbird
as a
capital
hummingbird capital
of the world.
Of the world, yeah. But that may be a little beyond their
That
power.
may be a big bit of a, yeah. So I'll bring the documentation and
Okay.
we'll,
We can
yeah,
set- we
just a
can-
little.
Yeah, we can set that up probably during a regular work session or regular work session. It shouldn't
Okay.
be a whole. It's not going to need a whole separate thing, right?
Oh, yeah, it will. No, it won't. It won't. Just-
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And this may be able to be resolved really quickly. And this would be for Ms. Adams. I've been having a lot of people asking about not early voting, but voting at the polls. Are we still having voting at the polls this year?
Mayor Mueller, Councilmember Wolf, as of right now, absolutely, the vote centers will be open. The staffers will be trained. There will be the masks, and they will be putting in all of the measures that they need to.
Thank you. I've had a lot of people asking me, and I'm like, I think so.
And we have a sign out front that early voters can drop off their ballots downstairs. And I wonder if we could put that in the newsletter that goes to the Facebook, regularly.
Be a problem, right?
Okay.
Let 'em know
Just
that
we
there-
put
there's
it
a
on.
drop-off
Already be
point.
there.
I think
Is
it
it in there?
was.
Oh,
I
okay.
think so.
Maybe I didn't read.
In this
all of it.
week's or
This
the
week?
last one, yeah.
Okay.
Whatever day it comes, Monday,
You haven't read yet.
The one I,
Friday.
on my list. It's on the reading material, along with the content.
Okay. Now we go to item E, is the COVID status report for city operations. Chuck?
Okay, thank you, Mayor Mueller. We, mentioned, a few of the things already. The numbers seem to be leveling off a little bit in Cochise County. And Adam, if you have the numbers, maybe you can go ahead and share those, the most recent ones.
Yes, so for on the county update today, there was 1,268 total confirmed. That's up 15, only 15 from the day before. 808 recovered, which is a significant increase from 767 recovered from yesterday. The 28 deaths, and so right now there's 432 active in the county. Some of the stuff that I've seen is it kind of shows that it's starting to level off a little bit in the overhaul, but we'll see as that goes from. It's hard to tell from week to week, but that's what it appears to be at the moment.
Yeah. That also appears to be the case statewide. There's still numbers and increased cases, but there seems to be a leveling off going on. But some more data would be better, so we could spot that trend.
And that's one of the questions I get from folks, and I'm sure the council's getting the same question: is when are we going to talk about redoing the mask? In some cases, they want mandatory masks. In other cases, they want no masks.
Yeah.
But again, what goes on in my mind is looking at our numbers specifically, countywide as well as the state. One of the things the governor pointed out he mentioned in this last briefing and a couple of weeks before, is a factor called the R, which is capital R with a little zero. An R naught number of 1 means you're neither gaining or losing. If you have a less than 1, that means that the virus is not spreading. And if it's more than 1, the virus is starting to spread exponentially. So The last report from the state, it was at 0.97, and this is the first time it's been below 1 for a couple of weeks. So we're going in the right direction, but before I would come to you with a request to rescind the order, or to empower me to rescind the order, and I would ask your advice, obviously. I would have to make sure that not only our numbers that the chief just mentioned are going significantly and have had a trend for over a number of weeks in the proper direction, but that our not number needs to be significantly lower than 0.97. That's almost 1 right there. So those are the kind of things I look at, as well as hospital capacity and that type of thing. We don't really have an issue right now locally with hospital capacity, although you may be aware that last week they announced they were bringing in some nursing and medical professionals for 6 weeks to help out in some of the bigger hospitals where people have been stressed for a number of weeks and they basically need to break, which is probably a great idea. So we appear to be just past the edge, and hopefully we'll keep going that way for a couple of weeks, headed in the right direction. And maybe 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, we can reconsider what we're doing with masks, although I know there are some places right now they're looking to remask people because that R naught number is too high. So it's a day-to-day basis. I look at numbers, and if I see a significant improvement where I think it's worth the risk, I'll talk to you guys before I do anything. Okay, ma'am.
Just a comment that in the governor's most recent press conference, he had a slide or a picture or something up saying these cities require masks and these don't, and he incorrectly had that Sierra Vista did not require masks. So I don't know if we need
State government would make a mistake. Come on.
I don't know. Might want to make a little phone call.
Okay. Well, we'll let them know.
Yeah, us in
I
the
tweeted it out.
recommended category.
Oh, we're in the recommended category? Highly recommended?
No, Chief, I don't remember the numbers for active in Sierra Vista.
Sure. As of yesterday, now they are updating the active zip code data on Mondays and Thursdays.
Yeah.
So yesterday for 85635, there were 74 active, and for 85650, there was 24 active.
So just
as
under
of
100.
yesterday.
Okay.
But remember, that's going to change significantly because they went up 40-something cases have recovered in just one day. So I'm sure some of those are within our zip codes as well.
And we'll know on Thursday, right?
On Thursday.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say if we could just go over really quickly, because I am also getting a lot of emails about this, and I'm sure everybody else is as well, what the mandate is in Sierra Vista, and that we do require that you wear masks. I think people are getting a little bit confused what the County Board of Supervisors did. But we in Sierra Vista, to my knowledge, require masks except if it is medically necessary.
Yeah, one of the key things people don't realize, and it's because we have a population that has moved here from other places primarily. Under Arizona law, we are not a political subdivision for the county.
Correct.
So if the county takes a vote on something, and it's something that we have primacy over, like the order, our order stands. Now, if you're out in the county, their order stands, but you're in the city, our order stands, and that's what's confusing people, because they're not used to the fact that we don't follow the old Northwest plan where you had the state, the county, the city, the township, etc. One obeying the laws of the other.
Thank you.
So
Mr. Mayor.
that's a challenge. Okay. Anything else before the council?
Oh, do you want to? You go ahead. Okay. You go ahead. I just wanted to make a comment that, Mr. Mayor, that there are free masks available for the community. All you have to do is call. I don't have the number.
Oh, well,
do you want to?
It's like my cell phone number, so that's.
Oh, you don't want to put that out?
Oh, well.
Okay.
So, yeah, contact Peach's Pantry. Got a grant from the Legacy Foundation for the purchase of 3,000 masks. The focus has been to put them out to organizations that can help get it into hands of people in need. So St. Vincent de Paul,
Salvation.
Army, et cetera, et cetera. Got a
Great.
supply of masks to give out.
Thank you
And,
for
yeah.
doing that.
And in addition, there was a really good turnout of community folks who drove by to pick them up at Peaches Pantry last Saturday, and probably new places will be announced soon of where there'll be another handout.
Okay, Chuck, it just occurred to me I might have cut off your report, but go ahead.
Just a couple other things, Mr. Mayor. As a result of the governor's orders and the numbers where they stand, we're probably still looking at our closure posture probably through Labor Day now. So depending, of course, on any changes that the governor provides to us during that time. So we're probably still looking, at that situation. Also, with regards to the numbers, city staffers have not been immune from exposure to COVID-19. I'm pleased to report that, knock on wood, we haven't had positive tests here. Nonetheless, when that happens, we have to put people in quarantine and that kind of thing. And that's really the main reason why I think we need to keep the buildings in the situation that we're currently in for a while more. And that's all I have.
Okay, so thank you, Chuck. Not to end on a gloomy note, I did have my meeting with my oncologist today, and he told me that the PET scan was negative for cancer, and also had a colonoscopy last week. The one polyp also was negative for cancer. So I've essentially been cancer free since my operation last January. So I'm very happy. With that, if I can clear my throat, meeting's adjourned.